And we are live. We are live. We are live. We are live. Welcome. This it's actually been delayed. I mean, it was delayed. I mean, I should have been here some time ago, doing this this particular broadcast, but a couple of things were going down. So my Rambo 2 was delayed, but now I'm here. So let me just pull up a couple of things. I need to get my get some of my notepads, in order, before I launch into this. Yeah, let's see now. Okay, yep. Okay, we're in business. We're in business. Okay. All right. Yeah, guys. So, this is just to continue with the series of the classic Talkback classic, where we shine a light on some classic films that are must-watches. The first one that I did some time ago, a few days ago, was Back to the Future. So you can actually go and watch that. But I wanted to get into this one. And you see, some people will look at and say that, hey, hang on a sec. Why are you talking about Rambo 2 and not First Blood, aka Rambo 1? Like, why would you go straight to Rambo 2 and not talk about Rambo 1? And there's a very simple reason to that. Rambo 2 is the classic. See, there's a particular ideology of action film. There's a particular concept of action film. There's a particular concept of the lone warrior. There's a particular concept of intensity and violence that is based on this particular film, not Rambo 1. This film changed action films. This film completely changed action movies. Like, it's off this that you started getting things like Commando and the likes of. This film is the film that changed everything. Where you're talking about one man basically taking on an entire army, it's this movie. This movie. And the funny thing about it, right, is that it wasn't a joke. You see, a lot of people now, when they look back and they say, oh, Rambo 2, ha 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 ha, Rambo running around. I'm like, guys, I need you to go and actually just watch this film. It wasn't a joke. Like, we sort of think of it as a joke. Oh, I mean, I don't. But let's just begin from where the inception of this thing came from. Okay, so we had Rambo 1. Okay, Rambo 1 First Blood was a very serious movie. Like, that movie was like a real drama type film about a Vietnam veteran with PTSD who was trying to return home and was just trying to integrate back into society, but was having difficulty with it. Met this sheriff who basically, the very second that John Rambo actually got into the town, this guy was on his case. And this person just had like an issue with him or whatever. And I'm just saying that this is Rambo Part 1, okay? So he had an issue with him, messed this guy around. The guy now, Rambo snaps, like he just goes crazy, yeah, ooh. The guy now attacks, basically he brings them into his world. Aka the jungle, and he messes them up. And I think the pivotal moment in that movie is where he throws that rock and it happens to kill an officer. So then they now flip it around as if it's his fault, but they were trying to kill him. So he was just trying to defend himself, and then he threw the rock. And then off that, now they started trying to mess with this guy. And then we know what happens in the end. Rambo is with Trautman. Listen, I have a lot to say about Rambo 2, but it's just a preface. It's just a preface. So then, then Rambo 2 gets to that little town place, right? And then when Trautman is the only person that can talk him out of that place, then he goes into the building, and then Rambo goes on his whole rant, yeah, whatever, and he gets arrested because Trautman convinces Rambo to turn himself in, and then he gets arrested, and he gets taken to prison. Now we're up to date. So Rambo 2 begins, right, where Rambo is in this like crazy concentration camp type prison. See, the funny thing about that prison that they put this guy in is like, what kind of prison is this? It's not even a regular prison. It's like they put him in like some kind of like dark ages, smashing rocks with pickaxes, with chains around your feet type place. So I'm like basically hard labor prison. Okay. So Trautman comes in, right? And then Trautman comes to see him at the jailhouse. And listen, guys, this is the thing about Rambo. The music for the beginning of Rambo 2 is strong. The music, I don't know what, you remember the opening credits? I think it was Flames. I think the opening credit was in Flames. Like, the opening credits was strong. Listen, the opening track was strong. So you knew you were in for a movie. Then it opens, right? And then Rambo is like, breaking rocks and everything. And then Trautman comes to the gates. And then like that high angle with the camera, the high angle. And then Rambo and then Trautman on the opposite sides of the gates. And then he offers him a deal. And then Rambo is acting like, it's not that bad in the prison, Rambo looks normal. Like, he doesn't look like things are that bad. It's just like, then Trautman said, don't you want to get out of here? Like, and then offers him a deal. And basically, this is the key. The deal is there are men who were left behind. And that's when you see Rambo's eyes go like, what the? Because it's about POWs, Vietnam POWs. You see, the first movie was really about soldiers coming home and not being accepted, aka Rambo. And no matter what he did, he couldn't get accepted into society. And they basically maneuvered a way to get this guy into prison, even though he's supposed to be a hero, right? Part 2 is about, okay, forget about home. What about the guys that you left behind? So now they bring Rambo into the camp, right? And this guy called Murdoch, okay? And there's one strong scene about Murdoch that I'm going to do later on. So they take him to see Murdoch, right? And then Murdoch's like the American like government guy who's organizing the rescue mission to go into across the border into like the Vietnam border and go and get the POWs who are still there. And basically America had forgotten about. But the truth is that they tell Rambo that just go in there and take pictures. We just want to have proof that there are actually POWs there. And Rambo is like, okay, like pictures, like, and then they give this guy all this equipment, high-tech gear, all this stuff, surveillance, all this stuff, and then they take him into the room. And Rambo just looking like, what is all this? What's all this rubbish? What's this for? Cut a long story short, they get into this thing and they're going to drop Rambo off. And what happens is like, as he's trying to jump out of the plane, his, what do they call it? His parachutes gets caught on the plane thing, right? And then they're trying to cut down and trying to get it. And things like not even his parachute, like his bag, like the thing with all the equipment, all this high-tech equipment that they gave him, right? Is caught on the thing, and the guy's trying to get it off, and he's getting dragged by the plane. And then he gets his knife, right, and cuts it. And when he cuts it, the whole point of that is that all the equipment, listen, Elien King, we're getting there, man. We're getting there. There's a reason why Rambo 2 is so strong, because it's not a mistake. Let me even put that up on the screen. James Cameron. Look, James Cameron was involved with the story. And in fact, you know what? That's the funny thing about that point, because there were a lot of credits, right? And the story, like, was a guy called Kevin Jarre. Exactly, that's what I remember. But yes, the screenplay is James Cameron and Stallone. That's why the movie is it's just so it's uncompromising. See, the thing about James Cameron is that James Cameron knows how to make a movie for men, like where things are very straight. Like it's just like boom, 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 construction. Because you watch a Rambo 2, and that's the thing I always said about it. It's like, why is this film so good? Because on the surface of it, it's rubbish. Like, when you just think about it, if you try to tell somebody the story for Rambo 2, they'd think, what kind of stupid film is that? So one man, and then he leaves all his equipment, and then he goes in, and then he mows everybody down, and then he rescues people, and then like you tell the story, and people will look at you and say that, what's wrong with you? That movie sounds like trash. But you and I know the movie is far from trash. It's a classic. Anyway, so Rambo now falls into the jungle with his parachute, right? And then he's now got nothing. All he has is like the massive thing. This knife is about as big as this. This guy's knife. It's a sword, but that's basically the only real weapon that he has is left. Of all the stuff that they gave him, is like his massive sword, massive knife, right? So then he's now in the jungle, and then that's when the movie now gets into the real heat. And then he runs into this woman who helps him when he goes to the camp, and then he thinks it's a guy, but it turns out to be a woman, blah, blah, blah. And then they have this like weird sort of love story and everything. Okay, these are all spoilers, but everybody's seen Rambo 2, I would think, but if you haven't, anyway. Point in case is that this movie basically goes into and again, it's like why I'm saying it was the benchmark movie. It's the benchmark movie of the betrayal, revenge, rescue, one-man army thing. You know that we're so used to that now of like, they send the soldier in, and then he gets betrayed by his own people and left for dead behind enemy lines. And then he comes back and, he survives on it. Now, when you say that, I was like, oh, come on, we've all heard that. This was the first movie that took that concept to the limits. Like, so you have to think about it. Like, at the time, nobody had ever seen anything like this in the mid-80s. Nobody had ever seen anything like this. So I think that that's the thing that people need to understand, that, you're talking about a movie that came out in 1985. By this point, what had even been made? It was coming off the back of like Star Wars had just ended, Return of the Jedi had come out. Indiana Jones, Temple of Doom, Back to the Future was in the cinemas that year. Like, what I'm trying to say is that like this was an era. Ghostbusters. This was an era where like this sort of film was, nobody had ever seen anything like this before. Then, there's one funny scene, right? This is the classic scene, right? Where Rambo has been, so on the poster, you see like the poster that you can see on the screen, right? He has like 3 cuts, not 3 scabs, like of scars, 3 scars on his chest, right? And this is from that scene here where this guy, this Podolsky or whatever his name is, right? Played by the guy who was Victor Maitland. so I just call him Victor Maitland from Beverly Hills Cop 1. So every time I see this man, to me, he's just Victor Maitland. Like, I don't even know what his real name is. I just call this man Victor Maitland. Anyway, so Victor Maitland, okay, who's the Russian guy or the Soviets guy who's captured Rambo, right? And then he's getting tortured. And then what happens is they have this hot knife and they use it to cut his chest, and they have like this bed that they attach electrical wires to electrocute him and everything. And Rambo is not breaking. Rambo would rather die than give information. Point is that they now give him a radio and say that he needs to talk to his guys on the other side of the border who sends him in there, right? And tell them, that he's been captured and that, and whatever. And so now check this out, guys. And this is one of my favorite scenes. Okay, this is one of my favorite scenes. So let me even get something. I need something to do this with. All right. Wait. No. Let me use this. All right. So then, can you see this? So they tell Rambo to talk to Murdoch, right? Who is the guy who set him in, and then there's thunder and like lightning and everything, and then the sound of the microphone is all messed up. Then it goes, And then Modok is like, hello? Yeah, what's going on? Hello, hello? And it's like, Murdoch. I'm coming to get you. Then the whole thing goes dun, 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 dun. And then he uses the thing and smacks the guy, and then there's lightning, and then he throws one guy into the electrician thing and gets him electrocuted. And then at that point, Modok is on the other side just hearing like commotion, and he's like, what's going on? What's going on? And then I remember when I watched this film, I'm like, listen, Modok, if I were you, I would get as far away from whatever country you're in, not even the area or the camp you're in. You need to get out of the country, because when Rambo sees you, you are a dead dog. Because Modok betrayed this guy. There was the betrayal scene, which is one of the funniest scenes you will ever see in your life. The betrayal scene like this, there's this ridiculously messed up soldier, right, who's like a sadistic guy. And Rambo has explosive, arrows. So this is like later in the movie, like, because this is the man who basically got Rambo's pseudo girlfriend, whatever, killed, right? But earlier in the movie, when there's a rescue attempt, and that's why Modok messed up, because Rambo is supposed to go to a rescue pickup place where the helicopter is going to pick him up, right? But the thing about it is that when Rambo got there, he was supposed to what do they call it? Exactly. Yeah, you need to get out the planet. He was supposed to just take pictures. Yeah. And the thing that he was supposed to take pictures was of the POWs. But the thing is that when Rambo got into the camp, right, and he saw all these guys, you know, he was like, I'm not going to leave these guys here. So then he actually gets all these POWs out of the camp, right? And then he takes them with him to the pickup place. And then remember that listen, man, Stallone is not to be messed with when it comes to these sort of movies. So anyway, so then they get to this place, right? And then the helicopter's coming in, right? And then when the pilot sees that, wait a second, because he thought he was only going to be picking up Rambo. But then Rambo is there with like all of these POWs. And then Modok is the guy who tells them to leave them. It's like the craziest betrayal, because it's like the helicopter was right there and he could have basically picked them up, right? And then Modok tells the helicopter guy not to pick them up. And I remember when listen, and the thing is, the beauty of these movies is the first time you watch it, after you've seen it, it's a different feeling. Like the first time I watched it, I was like, what a disgusting human being Modok is. Like, what kind of person is this? The guys are right there. Just pick them up. The thing is, like, when you're watching as a kid, right? You're like, this is only halfway through the movie. So obviously they're not going to pick them up because the movie would be over. So all I was thinking was like, man, these guys, because at that point, when he leaves, they leave, what they call it, they leave them behind, right? I was like, what the hell is Rambo going to do now? Because not only do you have to save yourself, like now you've got the responsibility of all these guys with you, you know, anyway. And again, it's just a movie you've just got to watch, because then, you know, I don't want to spoil it of how Rambo gets people out. You know, I mean, I don't want to spoil that, but you just need to watch the picture. All this to say that Rambo 2 is one of the most, you know, craziest films that you can ever watch, you know, and it's a classic. It's just a classic. And you see, this is the thing, right? It depends on what era you grew up in. Yeah, no, okay, Elien King, Rambo and Snake Plissken inspired Solid Snake from Metal Gear. I do not feel Rambo did. Snake Plissken is Solid Snake, down to even the voice and the eye patch. Rambo is a generic influence on all action. Like Rambo is just general, like one-man army, one man against, you know, multiple people using multiple weapons and all this sort of stuff, using jerry-rigging things. And that is a generic influence that Rambo has had on all action films and survival movies. Snake Plissken is Metal. Do you know what? It's so bad that I actually thought when Metal Gear Solid 1 came out, I was like, can they sue them? You know, can they sue? Because it was such a ripoff of Snake Plissken that I was like, wait a minute, Metal Gear Solid Snake is Snake Plissken. So can these people sue them for like stealing a character? Anyway, let's just not get off topic. Rambo. The Rambo movie is Rambo 2. I am going to do an episode on Rambo 3 because I believe it is the most underrated Rambo film and one of the most underrated action movies. It's just such an underrated movie because Rambo 3 is excellent. Like it's a great film. I feel like Rambo 3 just came out at the wrong time. It was released at just the wrong point in history. So it's just wasn't appreciated. But I'm going to do a Rambo 3 thing because I want Rambo 3 to get a bit of shine, you know, because Rambo 3 doesn't get the shine that it should get. But anyway, look, the point is this, like there's somebody that I want to talk about. I'm going to put an image on the screen and I want you guys to tell me whose image you're looking at. I'm not going to say anything. I want to tell you whose picture you're looking at here. Quickly. People type in the chat, who is this? I'm waiting. I'm not going to say anything until somebody types out who this man is. I'm waiting. I want his name. I don't want his title. I want the character's name in this thing, not his tag of like, who is this? Come on, guys. What is this? I thought these are Talkback guys. Say, what's going on? You can't give me the name of this guy? No, I don't want his human name. I'm talking about the name of him in Rambo. This is very disappointing, actually. It's very disappointing. Look, guys, what's going on here? Can somebody give me the name of this guy? I know who this guy is, but I'm trying to see who here has his stuff in order, not the actor. What is the name of the character? What character is this? And I don't want anybody Googling. I don't want anybody going to IMDb. Thank you, goodness me. God, how long does it take? Trautman. Guys, I'm going to tell you something, okay? This man, aka Richard Crenna in his human form, but in Rambo, Colonel Trautman, is Rambo. This is a man whose only job in life is to hype another human being up. That's what he does. Like every line and everything that Trautman says in every movie he's in, 2 movies, no, 3 actually, what am I saying? Rambo 1, 2, and 3. Trautman spends his entire time hyping Rambo up. What do you want, John? I want what they want. And what everyone that came over here and spilled his guts wants for our country to love us as much as we love it. How you gonna live, John? Day by day. Hey, by the way, what you call hell, he calls home. Better bring a good supply of body bags. There was a carpenter, chipped away the rough edges. This man spends his, you forgot about something. Oh yeah, what's that? Rambo. Listen, this guy's job is to hype another human being, a grown man. Trautman is a fully grown man. His job, every single scene he's in, everything he's doing is to hype John Rambo up. And it works. It works. Because like you're watching this, like, man, who is this Rambo guy? Because whenever Trautman would say something, it would preempt the scenes that you're going to see. Because when it said body bags in Rambo 1, It was when this clown-faced sheriff was like trying to go after Rambo and said that, you know, we're going to get, and then Trump was like, this guys, you better supply a good amount of body bags for your own men. Like, I would strongly advise against going after this guy in a jungle, in a forest. Better get body bags for your guys. Let me see. See what we got here in the comments. Yes, First Blood was yes. I mean, it was like I said, First Blood was a serious film. You know, it wasn't, which is why First Blood is not in my list, for the simple fact that there are better movies about that issue, like Born on the 4th of July, for example. Like, there are better films, Coming Home with John Voight. There are better films about, you know, the PTSD Vietnam veteran, even Deer Hunter, for goodness sake. Half of that movie is about coming home, you know? So there's a lot of movies that I felt handled that thing better than First Blood Part 2 did. Because First Blood Part 2 is just sort of an action film, you know? I mean, what am I saying, First Blood Part 2? I mean, First Blood Part 1, rather. First Blood Part 2, so First Blood Part 1 is an action film that is serious, but other films handle that sort of subject better. First Blood Part 2 is unashamedly all-out action. All-out action. So, I mean, guys, I can't recommend this movie highly enough for anybody who hasn't seen it, which to me would be the craziest. I can't imagine there's anybody who hasn't seen this movie. I mean, is there? Is there anybody who hasn't seen this film? Like, because I just feel like it's one of those films that is a staple for stuff. So I don't know, maybe there is. Taxi Driver, oh yeah, I suppose so, yeah, you know. Yeah, you know, I mean, but Taxi Driver, I never really thought of it as a, you know, veteran movie. I don't know why, but you're right. Yeah, you are right. I just never thought of it as a veteran film. But yeah, guys, so yeah, look, another thing as well. So I've been enjoying this little reminisce videos that I'm doing. You know, I've been enjoying like getting back into the world of, you know, the realms of Talkback and airing some views. So what I'm actually going to do, oh, and also, if you want people to know about me doing these classics, feel free to share these videos and like get people to subscribe to the page, because I'm going to be doing a lot of retro. You know, I'm going to be going into a lot of retro, and the more people that are involved in these conversations, you know, I like it because I want to hear from guys who have different perspectives on the retro stuff that I'm going to be talking about. This was actually fun for me because I feel like people don't appreciate films like Rambo 2 enough. You know, it doesn't get the respect it deserves. We're going to obviously talk about films that still get respected, you know, I mean, like Bloody Scarface, you know, I mean, which I can't believe that they're making a remake, they're remaking, which is like 2 people are remaking. It's not even 1. I think there's like 2 remakes coming out, which doesn't make any sense to me. But what I did also want to do is, what do they call it? Is I'm going to do some games, video games. I'm going to do some video games, and the video games that I'm going to be doing are like just the games that really impacted me in my growth as the Merc, you know, who gave the Merc fuel in particular sides of his brain, you know, because the movies are just one area. There's the music area in the mind, and there's also the video game area in the mind, you know. So I think I've got to touch on, because Talkback, we never really talked about games, and games are such a big part of my life that I'm actually surprised I never talked about games. I'm like, games are like put it this way, I've owned every single console that has ever been made, except the first Amiga. Amiga is the only one that I never had, because I started console-wise. So I had computers before then, Commodore 64 and whatever, but I didn't have what do they call it? The Amiga. So the first computer I actually had was, I think it was the Amiga Spectrum. I didn't have that. My cousin had that. I used to see that one. The NES, the regular Nintendo Entertainment System, was the first console I had. Before that, I had an Amstrad computer. I had Commodore 64 and all that sort of thing. So I was playing games on that. But for all those who don't know, Commodore 64 playing game, and that's the reason why I want to do videos about this. Because, so for example, I'm going to do a video talking about different consoles and the impact that different consoles had. I want to talk about the Commodore 64, the impact on me and the impact on the gaming system, gaming entertainment industry. I want to talk about the Nintendo Entertainment System when that came in, you know, and so on and so forth. I want to talk about Tomitronic, which was, and a lot of people don't even remember what Tomitronic was. It was this gaming system that you put on your eyes, and it was like the first like 3D virtual reality simulation experience that we ever had. And I loved that thing, like, honestly. And that's something that's been forgotten. Onimusha. You know Onimusha. Okay, yeah, listen, Onimusha was great, man. Do you know what I didn't like about Onimusha? I didn't like the fact that, you know that it had virtual controls like Resident Evil? You remember that, right? Where like up is always up. So even if you're going down on the screen, you had to still press up to go forward. That thing messed me up. And to even turn and everything. And I'm like, how can you make an action game like Onimusha and you're using the relative controls of Resident Evil? Because Resident Evil was, this is Resident Evil 1, was set piece, set piece, set piece. So every screen was a set piece. So they were sort of translating that into Onimusha. And for me, that didn't work. I finished the game. I finished Onimusha, but it was a struggle because I don't like those sort of controls. Hate those controls. Hate them. And I also was like, why can't you give us the ability to change these? I didn't like Devil May Cry. I didn't like Devil May Cry. Devil May Cry was a joke to me. That was a bloody joke. Like, it was like just an overindulgence. You know what? Devil May Cry to me was actually the beginning of just a crap era of video games where it's like, it had no substance. It was just like a bunch of like overindulgent with your gun and then your sword and you keep flipping the guy up. I'm like, what is this nonsense? Like once you've done that for like 5-10 minutes, I'm like, this was the same thing over and over again. I didn't like that game at all. And I tried to play Devil May Cry. In fact, I think it was the demo. I got the demo, right? And then after I played the demo, I'm like, why the hell would I want to get the full game if this is all you're doing? When I found out that in the game, like this is all you do, like you just keep doing this over and over again. Yeah, you know, rubbish. So yeah, guys, so you know what? I think the first game I'm going to do, like, see, this is what I'm going to do. And I think what I feel like has to happen is I think I need to put a list. So I'm going to put a list of the classic talkbacks that we've done, okay? So I'm going to put that on I think that the Facebook page is probably the best place. I mean, is the Facebook place or like, should I put it on the YouTube page? Like, what do you guys think? Because I want to put a list of the classic films that we're going to talk about that we put together a few episodes ago. And then I also want to talk about, put a list together of the video game things that I want to talk about. Because I think the first thing I'm going to go on is I want to talk about the Commodore 64. And then I want to talk about the first game that really affected me. I mean, we could talk about Zelda Ocarina of Time. I could talk about Zelda Ocarina of Time. That might be the first game that I have to say, like, really, because yes, there's Street Fighter 2 on Super Nintendo and arcade. So I could talk about Street Fighter 2 because Street Fighter 2 was probably the first video game phenomenon that I really remember that this thing is a phenomenon, is Street Fighter 2. So we could do Street Fighter 2. I mean, man, I'm not sure what I should go with first, man. YouTube censors, really? So, but yeah, but what would YouTube be censoring though? Like, what? I'm just putting a list up of things. What are they censoring? You know, and also the thing is, like, I also want to be able to do YouTube for monetization because at a point, right, I think, you know, if I'm going to be doing this, like, I need to get a place where the videos actually get monetized for views. You know what I'm saying? So I don't even know that, because Facebook doesn't do that. Even though I am broadcasting to Facebook now, but I'm only doing that because I know that there are a lot of people, Talkback guys who are on the Facebook, who wouldn't necessarily know about the YouTube page. But I think the YouTube page is probably better. I mean, look, at the end of the day, probably setting up a separate website would be good. But I just want to use Facebook for posting in the end. So I'm going to stop broadcasting on Facebook. I'm just going to be using Facebook for notifications of what's happening. Ah, really? They don't like the pictures. How about if I just put the images of the, just some stills, like I'm sure stills is, no. Listen, because movie reviewers have to use stills to review video games and review things, movie reviewers do that and they don't censor them. They still get views, so they shouldn't be an issue. I think it's moving it, like videos of moving things that might actually get you to get screwed up on YouTube. That's what I think. And plus, you know, the way that we're doing these videos, like you can see the way we just did First Blood Part 2, we're doing this in a very, very different way to the way other guys are doing the videos, you know, because when they do the videos, they just put out a video. I want interaction. Like I want this to be conversational. I want fans to get involved. I want particular guys to, and in fact, you know what, Hollywood, what happened to you? Because I was trying to get you in on this. Do you have anything that you want to say about Rambo 2? Do you want to get in on this broadcast before I get out of here? Because I sent you the link and I don't know what happened to the, you know, you didn't accept the link or something. I don't know what happened. Yeah, no, I don't think it should be a problem, Pierin. I don't think it should be a problem. So I'm going to, because exactly, it's the clip that will get censored. It's the clip, and I'm not going to put clips. I don't put clips in, you know, because like I said, I think the main thing for me is that I want us to get on back on the way talk. You see, Talkback, like if anybody has been in Talkback for a while, like some people who are new, I won't remember this, but Talkback, we had our own world. We had Talkback World, the Talkback Senate. We had our own websites, you know, and we had hundreds and hundreds of fans on the website that we used to go and communicate and do our own thing. So what I'm going to try and do now is that I'm trying to reignite the Talkback movement. You know, we're going to get Talkback back in the game. In order to get Talkback back in the game, I have to listen. That's why I'm experimenting with different things, because I'm trying to decide on like where I should put particular elements. You know, like do I put these videos here, just here, or on Facebook? So what I'm doing now, because we're just starting, is that I'm broadcasting to both Facebook and YouTube. But in the end, I don't want to be broadcasting on Facebook these things. Facebook will just be for posts and for letting you know that I'm going to be doing a broadcast. So what you should do is that you should follow the Talkback World Facebook page so you know when I'm going to be getting on to talk about things if you want to join in, because I think one of the most difficult things for me, all right, let me send you a link. Oh, you know what, man, this is going to be glitchy. Yeah, you know what, this is what we'll do, Hollywood. I'm going to have particular shows for free-for-alls. Maybe these classics, I'm going to just keep it this way. And then I'm going to have actually maybe do on Sundays, like tomorrow, maybe on Sundays, we'll do like free-for-all things where people can get in, jump in and stuff. And then I'll just do it like that so that I don't get things too confused. Yes, I know, exactly, with one comment stream, because I think that we're getting comments from, and I know, and I agree with you, but I think that the only thing now is that this is just the beginning. And if you look at this, if I was just doing it on YouTube, there's a lot of people, Talkback people on Facebook, that wouldn't know that we're back. That TDK review is one of the most epic reviews ever made. Wasn't it like 11 parts or something, where we broke down like every single element of the film? Man, oh man, that was a hell of a review. That was a hell of a review. But the thing is, we don't do those sort of epic reviews for everything. I think we did a crazy review for Watchmen. We did a crazy review for Dark Knight. We did a Superman Returns review that was a two-parter, I think. But I think the most epic ones were Watchmen and Dark Knight. It was 11 parts. Who the hell does an 11-part review? Oh my God. That thing was epic, man. Well, we covered a lot. Yeah, but I think the funny thing about Talkback, and I think the most interesting thing is the difference in the landscape now. The landscape is so different with all the YouTubers and everybody that are now making videos about things that I just wasn't seeing the kind of commentary that I want. It's very difficult for me because like I go on YouTube and like everybody's just angry and attacking everything. And listen, believe you me, I agree with a lot of what people are saying. Like I'm part of Fandom Menace as well. I wasn't a Star Wars fan of the new stuff that was coming out, but I just want to have this forum for just some joy and just some good old fan nostalgia. That's what I want to bring back. So that's the thing. So yeah, guys, spread the word, share the videos, get people, bring in, recruit. Talkback is the matrix. It's the matrix. If you go on the YouTube page, we made that video about the matrix. We're freeing minds. So you guys are all in Zion with your minds. You've been unplugged. You need to go out there and free minds. Go out there and free. Valvena, the game has changed. The game has changed. I agree with you. It's a whole new world out there. It's like Beyond Thunderdome, Mad Max. Because when Talkback started, we were like the only guys doing what we were doing. Like we were literally, there was nobody else doing that sort of like regular two guys commentary thing. When we started, like nobody was doing that. So no, I double toasted. No, I don't watch Double Toasted. Hey, remember that kid on YouTube that was waiting for Watchmen all his life? Yeah, no, I don't remember that. Oh yeah, I do remember that. Listen, guys, there's another picture because like, somebody asked me about this the last video I made about Snides and Justice League Snides cuts, right? The Snides cuts, I think that also needs its own dedicated show. I think the Snides cut needs its own dedicated show. So what I might do, see, the thing is that there is so much to talk about. It's difficult to actually decide on what to put where. So I'm actually thinking that tonight, should we do Snides cuts tonight? Should we talk about Snides cuts tonight, or should I do the first video game video tonight? You tell me. Let me hear your thoughts. When is the next trailer out? When is the next trailer coming out? Because I'm thinking that, listen, Snides Cut, the thing about Snides Cut is that the Snides Cut is a double-header conversation, because what you're really talking about is we're going to do Snides Cut talking about the cut that actually came out, and Batman v Superman. Like, you've got to talk about Batman v Superman and the Justice League version that came out with Steppenwolf. They call the guy Steppenwolf. Like, when I heard that, I actually was thinking of like, isn't there a rock group, a heavy metal group called Steppenwolf? Like, when I even heard the name, I was just thinking of a heavy metal group from the 80s or 70s or whatever. That's what I thought. And then I watched the movie. I'm like, wait a minute. So it's when I found out that there was an actual other version, it made so much sense to me, because the movie that got released was such a mess. Like, I was just so confused. Yeah, but okay, so this is what we'll do, right? I mean, okay, let me just get a vote here, guys. So are we doing Snyder's Cut tonight? Or are we doing video game tonight? You know what I think? I think the video game videos, I should just do myself. Yeah, Valvena, look, listen, let me tell you this, Valvena, right? We're going to do a Snyder's Cut episode, so let's save the energy for that, you know? I'm just thinking, like, what do we do tonight? Do we do the video game, first video game episode tonight, or do we do the Snyder's Cut? Or I am actually thinking that it's possible that I could just do the video game videos myself without an audience, because the thing about the video game videos is, you know what I mean? I might as well do it with an audience, but I just say that some of them are very obscure. So when I'm doing like a Commodore 64 thing, it's like, I don't expect a lot of people to even know anything about the Commodore 64. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. No, listen, I get what you're saying. So Valvena is saying a lot of hot points. This guy is saying a lot of hot points. So Valvena, look, the reality is that I feel like that conversation about the Snyder's Cut is its own show. You know, and I feel like the video games, exactly, the video games thing isn't really a debate. I'm just talking about how amazing some games were and the impact on society. So I feel like I should do the video games thing separately as its own video and just record it and put it up. And then I will do these ones in a more conversational style. Unless, listen, I mean, obviously, look, there are some games that MGS2, MGS1, Zelda Ocarina of Time, Street Fighter 2, Soul Reaver, Legacy of Kain, Blood Omen, Legacy of Kain, Blood Omen Part 2, Soul Reaver 2, GTA 3, GTA Vice City, you know, what else would I even put in there? Mass Effect, you know, Halo 1, Halo 2, the greatest multiplayer experience that has ever been made. My God in heaven, Halo 2. Oh my Lord. Listen, that multiplayer on Xbox Live is some of the most fun I've ever had in video games in my life. If anybody remembers Halo 2 multiplayer Xbox Live with proximity voice and all that, that's why I say that Bungie and Microsoft, you guys are sick. How do you go from that to deconstructing things? And goodness, remember clans? Remember the way clans were in Halo 2? GoldenEye. I mean, you said, so Max Payne 2, Max Payne 3, Max Payne 1, 2, and 3 were crazy games. So I feel like there are games that would elicit some conversation. So let us think about that, because there are some games that I think maybe I should open that up to the floor. I think the difficulty with these things is that there's so much to talk about that I might actually have to be working overtime with these videos, because we're going to have to be doing a video for the classics. We're going to have to do a video for the video game thing. We're going to have to do a video for the current news, like the Justice League stuff. So it's going to be actually very difficult to like sort of hit all the points without controlling it a bit. So let's think about that. But let's come to a decision. I think tonight, let's do the Snyder's Cut tonight. Let's do the Snyder's Cut. I'm going to post it on the Facebook page that we're going to be talking about Justice League Snyder Cut tonight. And this is going to be an epic, because I think that we're going to have to start from Man of Steel. Like, we're going to have to go from the beginning. Like, we're going to have to go from the beginning. Like, we're going to have to start from Man of Steel. In fact, you know what? We're going to start from Superman Returns, because I think Superman Returns laid a foundation for what happened with Man of Steel. Then we're going to go from Man of Steel, and then Wolfgang Peterson, who was supposed to be doing Batman v Superman in the first place, okay? Then we're going to talk about how Snyder got involved. Then we're going to talk about how Snyder was supposed to be doing like how he ended up like doing everything to do with this universe and the problem. I think we're going to have to break everything down. And then Nolan, what he wrote this, okay, he did the story or the script for Man of Steel. So what? I don't, and listen, and I have a lot of things to say about that too. I have a lot of things to say about that because, as you and we all know, Nolan is not a superhero movie guy. Dark Knight is not a superhero movie. It's an action film that happens to have, or rather an action thriller that happens to have Batman in it. A very, very good action thriller, but that's what it is. It's not Batman Begins is more of a Batman movie. You know, so let's not, you know, get ourselves confused. Listen, Wolfgang Peterson doing Batman and Superman would not have been epic, sorry. And as I said, let us save this conversation for the conversation. All right, guys, look, let me get out of here. I'm going to post up on the Facebook page when this conversation is going to happen tonight. It's going to be Snyder Cut, you know, and everything to do with Batman and Superman in this new, it's the new DC universe. And yeah, pay out Spielberg in.